Hi everybody, welcome to EcoDriver. My name is Helmut. Today we go out on our second trip already with the Ford Kuga / Escape plug-in hybrid. We already did the electric range test with a very good result, I think. You'll find the link in the description below and at the end of this video. As with all plug-in hybrids, we do this test with an empty battery. Why with an empty battery? Well, two reasons. Number one, I want to find out how efficient the hybrid drivetrain works. And with plug-in hybrids, it's quite easy to find a better word, fake a good consumption by using a large battery. And just like that, a car has a good WLTP or EPA rating, but that doesn't say anything about the efficiency. And number two, I want to demonstrate that PHEVs, even if they are not charged, are by no means such environmental disasters as they are often labeled. The Kuga / Escape has a 14.4 kWh battery, which is not relevant for this test, but compared to a full hybrid, this will help us on this loop, as we have a 6 km 4-mile descent, and the big battery allows us to use the regenerated energy to its full extent. Whereas with a full hybrid, and it's normally 1.2 kWh battery, this one is full relatively quick, and for the rest of the descent, the friction brakes or the combustion engine need to be used for braking. Unladen weight is 1,844 kilograms, 4,057 pounds. And as you often hear, plug-ins are so heavy and all the battery and the electric motor and blah blah blah. Well, compared to the Kuga full hybrid, this is 71 kilograms, 156 pounds more. Compared to the similarly equipped ICE Kuga / Escape with the 150 horsepower engine, it's around 170 kilograms, 374 pounds heavier. That doesn't really make a lot of difference on the uphill, but massively helps us on the way down. System output is 166 kilowatt. Here you see the loop, and we'll see whether we can beat the Kuga / Escape full hybrid, where we had 4.4 liters per 100 kilometers. In theory, we should use less fuel, as we can save more regenerated energy on the descent. At the end of the climb, we have 13.5 liters per 100 kilometers. You might have seen that I started with an empty battery, and the motor started then charging the battery in addition to moving the car. I then realized that I had to manually deactivate this feature, which I did, as it doesn't help us in our attempt to save as much fuel as possible. It might be useful at higher speeds when the engine is running at lower load, but uphill that's definitely not the right strategy. Now we are coming to the hilly section, and here it's important to use the momentum gained on the way down to go into the next ascent and therefore save on energy. End of the hills, and we have 7.3 liters per 100 kilometers. That's pretty much the same as we had with the Kuga / Escape full hybrid. On the way down, the same principle applies as with full hybrids. You might have seen my video of the Toyota RAV4. The electric motor in those cars is normally quite small. Not a lot of power, which is okay for regular driving, but when it comes to braking, as there is not as much power available as for accelerating, it's quite easy to exceed the braking power of the motor. The motor can't regenerate that much energy, so the friction brakes are used and you waste energy. So what's the solution? Well, look ahead, read the road, and avoid harsh braking. Ford is using a quite helpful feature. It's called Brake Coach or EV Coach, and it tells you after every stopping how much of the possible regenerative energy have been produced. If you do it right, you will see 100%. The more you exceed the regenerative capacity, the lower that percentage. You will see that later. We have now reached the end of the descent, and we have 5.0 liters per 100 kilometers. In addition to that, we gained 8 kilometers of electric capacity. You see the power gauge on the right? If you're braking, the digital needle is moving towards this green marking, and this indicates the maximum regenerative capacity. To this very point, you're using the electric motor to reduce the speed. If you exceed this, then the friction brakes are kicking in and are used in addition to the electric motor. So always try to stay within that area if you want to drive efficiently. I will use those 8 kilometers we gained intelligently on areas where it makes sense to drive in EV mode, which means at slower speeds and not on the highway. At the end of the open road section, the board computer tells us 3.3 liters per 100 kilometers. Here we massively benefited from the regenerated energy. We have 0 kilometers of electric range left now, so the consumption from now to the end is the real hybrid consumption. We're now coming to the end of the motorway and we see it's 3.8 liters per 100 kilometers. That's quite a bit below what we had on the full hybrid. One good thing I noticed was that despite the battery being empty, the petrol engine did not charge the battery. Something we have seen, for example, with the Ford Explorer. So we hit city traffic with 0 electric range. We're coming now to the end of this trip with the Ford Kuga / Escape plug-in hybrid. And as you see here, 3.7 liters per 100 kilometers. 76.2 kilometers overall, of which 49.7 kilometers were in pure electric mode. I find this fascinating. Almost 2/3 of the trip were done on battery, despite starting with an empty one. Not too shabby for an environment-killing monster. Well, 3.7 liters per 100 kilometers, that's a flipping good result. You might have noticed that we started the trip with 3 kilometers of electric range left. I tried to empty the battery beforehand to 0, but it didn't go lower than 3 kilometers of range. But when we finished this trip, it was down to 0. So, to be fair, I think we have to deduct those 3 kilometers from the overall covered distance, and that would give us 3.85 liters per 100 kilometers, which is still a quite good result. On the uphill, as I said on the video, the car was charging the battery through the petrol engine until I deactivated this manually. As I said, I'm not convinced that it's the best way to do it, but it gave us enough electric range to pass the hills without the use of the combustion engine. This is already an indicator of the fact that it might not be the worst idea to use the charge mode occasionally. I know there are enough experts out there who damn this feature, but I'm not so sure about that. And there will be a video about this very feature in the next couple of weeks, where I take a closer look at it and try to find out the impact on the overall consumption. And I can tell you that you might be surprised. Once I upload the video with the Kuga / Escape full hybrid, then we will compare the results, and they are quite interesting as well. Talking about interesting stuff, here you can find the video of the electric range test that I have done with this very vehicle earlier today. And that's quite impressive too. If you like what I'm doing, you can subscribe this channel by clicking here, and if you hit the notification bell, you won't miss any new video. They're roughly coming every 3 to 4 days. That's it for this car. Thanks for watching, take care, and see you soon.